Notice, one of us will say, "Well, boys," or "It was a near thing that time," and for a moment we fall silent. There is in each of us a feeling of constraint. We are all sensible of it. It needs no words to communicate it. It might easily have happened that we should not be sitting here on our boxes today. It came damn near to that. And so everything is new and brave, red poppies and good food, cigarettes and the summer breeze. Crop asks, "Anyone seen Kamarish lately?" "He's up at St. Joseph's," I tell him. Mueller explains that he has a flesh wound in his thigh, a good blighty. We decide to go and see him this afternoon. Crop pulls out a letter. "Cantoric sends you all his best wishes." We laugh. Mueller throws his cigarette away and says, "I wish he was here." Cantoric had been our schoolmaster, a stern little man in a gray tailcoat with a face like a shrew mouse. He was about the same size as Corporal Himmelstiss, the terror of Klosterberg. It was very queer that the unhappiness of the world is so often brought on by small men. They are so much more energetic and uncompromising than the big fellows. I have always taken good care to keep out of sections with small company commanders. They are mostly confounded little marionettes. During drill time, Kanzerek gave us long lectures until the whole of our class went, under his shepherding, to the district commandant, volunteered. I can see him now, as he used to glare at us through his spectacles and say in a moving voice, "Won't you join up, comrades?" These teachers always carry their feelings ready in their waistcoat pockets and trot them out by the hour. But we didn't think of that then. There was, indeed, one of us who hesitated and did not want to fall in line. That was Joseph Boehm, a plump, homely fellow. But he did allow himself to be persuaded, otherwise he would have been ostracized. And perhaps more of us thought as he did, but no one could very well stand out, because at that time no one's parents were ready with the word coward. No one had the vaguest idea what we were in for. The wisest were just the poor and simple people. They knew the war to be a misfortune, whereas those who were better off, and should have been able to see more clearly what the consequences would be, were beside themselves with joy. Kaczynski said that was the result of their upbringing. It made them stupid, and what Kat said, he had thought about. Strange to say, Boehm was one of the first to fall. He got hit in the eye during an attack, and we left him lying for dead. We couldn't bring him back with us because we had to come back helter-skelter. In the afternoon, suddenly we heard him call, and saw him crawling up in no man's land. He had only been knocked unconscious. Because he could not see, and was mad with pain, he failed to keep under cover, and so was shot down before anyone could go and fetch him in. Naturally, we couldn't blame Kantorek for this. Where would the world be if one brought every man to book? There were thousands of Kantoreks, all of whom were convinced that they were acting for the best, in a way that cost them nothing. And that is why they let us down so badly. For us lads of 18, they ought to have been mediators and guides to the world of maturity, the world of work, of duty, of culture, of progress, to the future. We often made fun of them and played jokes on them, but in our hearts we trusted them. The idea of authority which they represented was associated in our minds with greater insight and a more humane wisdom. But the first death we saw shattered this belief. We had to recognize that our generation was more to be trusted than theirs. They surpassed us only in phrases and in cleverness. The first bombardment showed us our mistake, and under it the world as they had taught it broke into pieces. While they continued to write and talk, we saw the wounded and the dying. While they taught that duty to one's country is the greatest thing, we already knew that death throes are stronger. But for all that, we were no mutineers, no deserters, no cowards. They were very free with all those expressions. We loved our country as much as they. We went courageously into every action, but we also distinguished the false from the true, we had suddenly learned to see. And we saw that there was nothing of their world left. We were all at once terribly alone, and alone we must see it through. Before going over to Kemmerich, we pack up his things. He will still need them on the way back. In the dressing station, there's great activity. It reeks, as ever, of carbolic, pus, and sweat. We are accustomed to a great deal of the bullets, but this makes us feel faint. We ask for Kemmerich. He lies in a large room and receives us with feeble expressions of joy and helpless agitation. While he was unconscious, someone had stolen his watch. Mueller shakes his head. I've always told you that nobody should carry as good as a watch as that. Mueller is rather crude and tactless. Otherwise, he would hold his tongue, for anybody can see that Kemmerich will never make it out of this place again. Whether he finds his watch or not will make no difference. At the most, one will only be able to send it to his people. How it goes, Franz? Asked Kropp. Kemmerich's head sinks. Not so bad, but I have a damned pain in my foot. We look at his bed covering. His leg lies under a wire basket. The bed covering arches over it. I kick Mueller in the shin, for he is about to tell Kemmerich what the orderlies told us outside, that Kemmerich has lost his foot. The leg is amputated. He looks ghastly, yellow, and wan. In his face there are already the strained lines that we know so well. We have seen them now hundreds of times. They are not as much lines as marks. Under the skin the life no longer pulses. It has already pressed out the boundaries of the body. Death is working through from within. It already has command in the eyes. Here lies our comrade Kemmerich, who a little while ago was roasting horseflesh with us and squatting in the shell holes. He it is still, and yet it is not any longer. His features have become uncertain and faint, like a photographic plate which two pictures have been taken. Even his voice sounds like ashes. I think of the time when we went away. His mother, a good plump matron, brought him to the station. She wept continuously. Her face was bloated and swollen. Kemmerich felt embarrassed, for she was the least composed of all. She simply dissolved into fat and water. Then she caught sight of me and took hold of my arm again and again, and implored me to look after Franz out there. Indeed, he did have a face like a child, and such frail bones, that after 4 weeks pack-carrying he had already had flat feet. But how can a man look after anyone in the field? Now you will be soon going home, says Kropp. You would have to wait at least 3 or 4 months for your leave. Kemmerich nods. I cannot bear to look at these hands. They are like wax. Under the nails is the dirt of the trenches. It shows through blue-black like poison. It strikes me that these nails will continue to grow like lean, fantastic cellar plants long after Kemmerich breathes no more. I see the picture before me. They twist themselves into corkscrews and grow, and with them the hair on the decaying skull, just like grass in the good soil, just like grass. How can it be possible? Mueller leans over. We have brought your things, Franz. Kemmerich signs with his hands. Put them under the bed. Mueller does so. Kemmerich starts on again about the watch. How can one calm him without making him suspicious? Mueller reappears with a pair of airman's boots. They are fine English boots of soft, yellow leather, which reach the knees and waist up all the way. They are things to be coveted. Mueller is delighted at the sight of them. He matches their soles against his own clumsy boots and says, Will you be taking them with you, Franz? We all three have the same thought. Even if he should get better, he would only be able to use them on one leg. They are of no use to him. But as things are now, it is a pity that they should stay here. The orderlies, of course, will grab them as soon as he is dead. Won't you leave them with us? Mueller repeats. Kemmerich doesn't want to. They are his most prized possessions. Well, we could exchange, suggests Mueller again. Out here one can make some use of them. Still, Kemmerich is not to be moved. I tread on Mueller's foot. Reluctantly, he puts the fine boots back under the bed. We talk a little more and then take our leave. Cheerio, Franz. I promise him to come back in the morning. Mueller talks of doing so too. He is thinking of the lace-up boots and means to be in the spot. Kemmerich groans. He is feverish. We get hold of an orderly outside and ask him to give Kemmerich a dose of morphia. He refuses. If we were to give morphia to everyone, we would have tubs full. You only attend to officers properly, says Kropp viciously. I hastily intervene and give him a cigarette. He takes it. Are you usually allowed to give it then? I ask him. He is annoyed. If you don't think so, then why don't you ask? I press a few more cigarettes into his hand. Do us the favor. Well, all right, he says. Crop goes in with him. He doesn't trust him and wants to see. We wait outside. Mueller returns to the subject of the boots. They would fit me perfectly, and these boots, I get blister after blister. Do you think he will last till tomorrow after drill? If he passes out in the night, we know where the boots. Crop returns. Do you think, he asks. Done for, said Mueller empathically. We go back to the huts. I think of the letter that I must write tomorrow to Kemrich's mother. I'm freezing. I could do with a tot of rum. Mueller pulls up some grass and chews it. Suddenly, Little Crop throws his cigarette away, stamps on it savagely, and looking around him with a broken, distracted face, stammers, Damn shit! The damned shit! We walk on for a long time. Crop has calmed himself. We understand he saw red, out there. Every man gets like that sometime. What has Kantorek written to you? Mueller asks him. He laughs. We are the Iron Youth. We all three smile bitterly. Crop rails. He is glad that he can speak. Yes, that's the way they think. These 100,000 Kantoreks. Iron Youth. Youth. We are none of us more than 20 years old. But young? Youth? That is long ago. We are old folk.